All right, we got the box mounted right underneath the outlet there. Going to have to change the pigtail on it because it comes up just a little short, and ran coax cable from underneath the box, underneath the home. White cable, you can see there. Comes up under this little lip, goes underneath that lip right there, and comes up into the box for them to change the splitter and be sure to get the dBs right. And then we have to run a wire underground from that box across all the way to here, and from here all the way over to that corner where we're going to have the AP point-to-point set up. I'm going to put a pole right on this side of this building and point it right over there to, you see that RV sitting over there. Good sized fence here, but get you up high enough you can see it. The RV that's sitting over there, and be able to set up the receiver, the station over there, and then set up the AP to distribute it out to the RVs in the park. But today, other than this, I just want to get a little dent into this done, since I had time, because I got to go out of town for installing 2 clients. It's an hour-and-a-half drive, so I'm going to head back to the RV and get my stuff, be sure I got everything, double check, and head out of here, get me some coffee, and I'll be back on this one on Monday. The I think it's 150-foot cord I ordered, underground direct burial, and it says it won't be here until Thursday, but it hadn't shipped yet. And usually on Amazon it gives you 1 day when it starts, and then after it ships it recalculates, and usually it's here like 2 days earlier. So if it's going to be Thursday, it'd probably be Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, but usually it's 2 days. So Tuesday, and if I start here Monday, I got to go get poles at the hardware store and set the AP here for point-to-point. Go ahead and mount the radio and get into the RV park and set the receiver. So all I got to do is run this cord, and then I can light it up. And my connection, my backhaul to get this box hot, they're supposed to be here Monday. So it seems like everything's going to line up very well. If they come Monday, I can go ahead and get the box hot and do all the testing on the router and everything else, and get them internet here in the house for a thank you of letting us do this until the Ethernet cord comes in, so I can bury it, and then we'll go from there. But now I'm going to get me some coffee and go take an hour-and-a-half trip. This is just a little bit of stuff to get everything done today. Got the router for here. Got the routers for the 2 clients. Got the box for outside. Got my point to point that I'm be setting up here. And this is the CPE here and the CPE here that we're going to be installing today. All right, we're getting some gas. They got pumps that's messed up that half of them you can't prepay. And then number 7, somebody drove off and pulled a hose out of the system. But half of them you can't prepay, so, and just happened that this was one of them. So I didn't know how much it would take to fill up. So I just said, let's just throw 30 in there. That's more than enough to get me there, and need some to get back. I'll put some in then, but I just want to get on the road. Get these 2 people connected. All right, it's almost there. And 30. All right. All right. That should give me a good bit of gas in this thing. Don't take much. Especially when you can get up to 45 miles to the gallon if you're really going on a long trip. So let's get on the road and get out of here. All right, we're here at Lake Walker Mall, and I was planning on taking out the Nano switch. But for some reason, when I plugged the PoE directly into the AP, it'll run for about 5-8 minutes and then recycle. But as long as I got the PoE plugged into the switch and then plug the radio into the switch, it stays running. So I changed the PoE to the one that actually came with the AP radio and plugged it directly into the AP. And it still wanted to drop out. Now I have replaced the cord, the internet wire, from the PoE straight to the AP and see if it's a wire issue. This is what I have. As I'm watching, it actually drops out. I'm just watching it and see if it's going to drop out or not. But as to wires, this is what I have here. This is the PoE that came with the AP radio. And I had another one in there, give it a little extra power to feed the switch and 2 APs. But now I took this wire and ran it directly from there over and up to the AP and see if it's going to be a wire issue or not. If it is, I'm going to have to leave the Nano switch because I don't have any extra wires to be able to replace that one. So I'm going to have to just leave it that way. If this fixes it, then I'll just have to come back up here and replace the wire that feeds the AP. Put it back the way it was and go do the 2 installs and head back home. So we'll see. It was 3:17 when it showed all back up on here as connected, and it's 3:22 now. So we'll let it run. Usually, less than 10 minutes, just a little bit before 10 minutes. Usually, like 8 minutes, I'm thinking, is about what it takes. So I figured if it's 17, I figured I'd let it run to 3:30. And if it stays running then that tells me it's the cord, which kind of strange because if I plug in a Nano switch between the PoE and the AP, it works. But when I plug in the PoE directly to the AP, it's indicating that it's going to stay, but we'll see. It's 3:23. We got about 7 minutes left to go and see if it stays. If it does, then I know it's the wire. Now, if I have to go through the Nano switch to make it work, don't matter what wire I use, then I have to scratch my head and figure out why. what's going on by putting a nano switch in there, and that's the only AP that I'm actually putting on there. It's like I'm, you know, I don't know. Putting a nano switch in between the point A to point B seems to make it keep running. But it might be the wire, but I will only know with time goes by. It's 3:24, so we got 6 more minutes. If it holds another 6 minutes, I'm pretty confident that's what it is. It's going to be the wire. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a wire that's off of that roll that I had that was bad. And it's just, you know, I've just now coming around actually removing it, and for some reason it's acting up. But right now it's only got one client off, and that's because they're not here and they got their power turned off. It's 3:24, and at 3:30 if it's still connected, or you'll see me sooner if it disconnects. Well. It says it's 3:30. It also says I'm not going to drop out because you replaced my problem, a bad wire, because it has not dropped out since I plugged it in with that temporary wire. Now I would leave that wire there and strap it up temporarily, but I need that to install a client. So we're going to put it back the way it was, be sure it stays up and running, and come back. But it's still running. So let's go put it back the way it was and start doing some installs. All right, just to show you what I was doing, is this is the temporary wire right here. I just got it wrapped around here just enough to hold it up, take the stress off of it, which I got down there. But when I plug that wire that's feeding off the PoE now into here, into the switch, then this coming out, going to the radio, it works. Now if I take the wire from the PoE and plug it directly in the radio recycles or reboots within 8-10 minutes. Consistently, it just keeps doing it. I changed the PoE and used temporary wire. Well, I changed the PoE just as if it's the PoE, and used the same wire going through here, and then changed it from here straight there and see if it makes a difference. As long as I use this wire in the configuration of any of it and plugged it directly here, it kept rebooting. If I plug this wire directly into the radio and the PoE, it keeps rebooting. Now I took the PoE that came with the radio and used that temporary wire and plugged it directly and bypassed the switch, and it worked. Don't matter what PoE I used, as long as I was using this as the feed to come up and plugged it directly into the radio, it rebooted. But for some reason I can run it through the switch with this wire and it stays online. So I'm just going to come back and take that feed wire out and replace it, and do away with the nano switch and plug it directly into the radio. All right, we got it connected back, and it was about 3:35, and here it is 3:46. Still all up and running. Tie back in that right there, and it works. So this wire here is the bad wire. So now that they're back up and running, now I'll go do some installs. Well, we didn't get everything done, just things got in the way. The one over in this direction, he's been basically up for like 2 days moving and doing other things. He was just so tired. He says, man, can you come back later or another day next week? And I said, sure. I said, I got other ones I got to do up here, so we're going to come back Monday and get him done. And then we have one here we got to figure out, which I do believe I figured out a way to do it. The owner does not want anything attached to the poles with the power meter on it, which is understandable. So we were going to attach the antenna up here and all, but then we didn't have enough power cord to run here. So we're going to mount a box on the back of this one with the power supply for the radio, which should be able to reach up here because the AP is right behind me. Maybe a short pole, and put the receiver on it, and put the router in the box on the back side, and then it will shoot out into the RV. That's what we're going to try, and we're going to come back Monday late that evening because we got our connection at the new RV park coming somewhere between 12 and 1. And we're coming back up here to get this one installed, that one installed over there, and replace the wire here on the AP. But since we didn't get that all done, there was another person wanted internet, which over there, if you look about right there, you see a pole, and we have our CPE right there, and they're getting great internet, and the kids are all happy. But this is the Lake Waccamaw RV park, and we'll have a few more in here to get connected.